Start with Mike. Give him 3 minutes, each one 3 minutes, you'll be warned at 2.5 minutes. Okay, Mike?
Okay.
Well, thanks.
3.5 minutes. It's tough to summarize 50 years of service in 3 minutes, but I'll do the Reader's Digest. I wrote it down. As a general introduction, my wife Dee and I have been married for over 55 years. I've lived in Parsippany for over 50 years. Our 3 children graduated from the Parsippany school system, and one of our 10 grandchildren attended Parsippany school system. Career-wise, I have an electrical engineering degree from Fairleigh Dickinson University. I retired as assistance manager from the Bell system, first from Bell Telephone Laboratories, then New Jersey Bell, then Bell Atlantic, then Verizon, as they changed. I'm also a retired manager of telecommunications from the state of New Jersey. Militarily, I'm an Air Force veteran, having served during the Vietnam War and earned the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal. I'm a life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 10184, and a life member of the American Legion, Post 249. Community involvement has included Boy Scout Troop Committee Chairman, co-founder and president of the Township Drug and Alcohol Abuse Council, charter member and past director of the Parsippany Area Chamber of Commerce, past president of the Parsippany Rotary Club. I've been in that for 42 years. Member of the Sons of Italy, trustee of Craftsman Farms, member of numerous PTAs, booster clubs, and advisory committees. My career as an elected official has included 2 3-year terms on the Parsippany School Board, and I'm completing my 8th 4-year term on the Township Council, having served as president and vice president at various times. I am the only Parsippany elected official ever to be inducted into the New Jersey State League of Municipalities Elected Officials Hall of Fame. Quality of life issues in Parsippany have been my driving force for the past 50 years. Through my leadership roles on the school board, on the Township Council, on the Planning Board, on the Open Space Committee, and many other committees that I have served on, I have helped to shape the character of Parsippany. We have a healthy mix of commercial properties, residential properties, and open space. When Money Magazine selected Parsippany as the #1 small city to live in New Jersey, they considered 8 categories that would best represent the quality of life issues: property taxes, home values, population growth, land development, employment, crime rate, school performance, and proximity to services. The very same indicators that I have based my decisions upon. My record has been one of accomplishment. I played a leadership role with other community associations to fight a proposed 8-story complex at the No Country Club and supported efforts to preserve that 341-acre tract. I supported an initiative to create the Parsippany Open Space Trust Fund. I supported the establishment of our state-of-the-art Senior Citizen Community Center. I supported efforts to solve the flooding problems in Lower Lake Hiawatha. I supported the creation of curbside pickup of recyclables. I supported park development and recreation sites. I was involved in saving taxpayers over $2 million a year by switching to municipal garbage pickup. And I supported the preservation of historic Craftsman Farms. I have pushed for upgrading the township's sewer treatment plant, which has saved the township millions of dollars in electrical bills. And my summation I'll do at the end. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm Paul Carriffy Jr. I'm currently the council president. I have lived in Parsippany for over 40 years. I came up through the school system here. I graduated from Parsippany Hills High School in 1984. I am very familiar with your neighborhood here. I had a lot of friends growing up that lived in Puddingstone. I spent a little over 25 years in the Morris County Sheriff's Office, where I was a sergeant and I was the Sheriff's Emergency Response Team Commander, which was the SWAT team for Morris County. I did spend about a week at Ground Zero, actually an hour after the towers fell, so I know you guys could see it here, because I was down at the police academy when that incident happened. I have 2 twin boys that are 8 years old. They are my pride and joy. The reason that I ran for council 4 years ago was because I grew up here and this town is very important to me and I wanted to make a difference for the town here. When I got involved in politics, I'll tell you right now, I am not a true politician. I am just the average person just like you are. I work for you. I've always said that. The minute I got on the council, I've told people that I work for you. You are my boss, and that's the way I feel it should be. I've always listened to the people. I've taken advice from residents. I've taken their ideas. I fought for quality of life issues, for instance, the Waterview project down there, where they wanted to cram in all of this stuff. We had 500-600 residents attending our council meetings, saying they did not want this there. I listened to those people. I know, I grew up here. I knew the traffic issues, the quality of life, how it was going to affect their area there. I knew all of that, and I listened to what they said, and I fought for those people. And so far, we've been able to keep that out of it. Some of the other things that I've done, I've proposed in the last 2 years alone over $2 million in cuts to the budget, which were approved, voted on and approved, and that was without affecting a single service to any of the residents in town. And I can say that this last year, your municipal taxes went up less than $1 a month this past year. Okay, so if you saw any tax increases, that was a larger tax increase that was due to the school board. That was not due to your municipal taxes. Okay, so I'm very proud. I am very proud of that. I'm open. I'm always available. If anyone ever needs to get a hold of me, if I can ever help you out with anything, please do not hesitate to call me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm probably the least one of the bunch. My name's Nick Mjeris. I'm also probably the most recent resident of Parsippany. I've been here for 11 years, living in Lake Parsippany. In the 11 years that I've lived here, I've seen changes, and I too have 2 small children. I have a 6- and an 8-year-old, and the reason why I run is I want to make sure that Parsippany is still a great place to be for when my kids want to start their family. When I first started, people were always like, what's your platform? What's your platform? At the time, I was finishing my MBA at Rutgers University. And my platform was, I need to get through finals, and then I'll start to learn the issues. And the Dalai Lama once said that, you know, if you talk, you only hear what you already know. But if you listen, then you learn, you finally get to learn something. So that's what I did. I went around to all the districts, started hearing the issues from different districts. And there's 39 different districts. Every district has a different issue. Whether in Lake Parsippany, it's worried about the assessment they want to put on lake residents, or Mount Tabor and their snow removal, or even, you know, the historical aspect of Mount Tabor, and of course Intervale with Waterview. And these are all very important, and these are the things that are near and dear to me, and I want to make an impact. And Lily Tomlin once said, you know, somebody should do something, and then she said, well, I'm someone. So that's why I ran. More about my background. I grew up in West New York, New Jersey, which is in Hudson County. If anybody's not familiar with it, it is one of the most densely populated places in the country. When my grandparents bought a house in 1940, it wasn't such a way. In North Bergen, my great-grandfather owned Nanny Goat Hill. Now it's, you know, 8-story apartment buildings. So it's very concerning for me growing into the inner city that we maintain enough open spaces here and keep the density low, because what happens, and if you can follow West New York now, they're worried about the crime rate, the gangs, infestations, and so I want to make sure that we never lose our small town feel, no matter how big we get. So big issues like Waterview, and you know, I've seen, you know, I'm happy to see that the Whole Foods may be moving into the Pack Park instead of trying to move to that spot. And then also, you know the threat of moving low-income housing into that area. I mean, there are plenty of other places that we can develop. I specifically, we have a lot of office buildings that are now vacant. So, you know, we can say that there's a healthy mix, but when you have these vacancies, I mean, if you look at Troy Road and 46, there's retail space that I think there was...
30 seconds?
30 seconds? So much to cover, so little time, but I really appreciate your time, and the reason I run is to just make sure that it's good for my family, and so I'll always make the right choice based on that. Thank you.
My name is Janice McCarthy. I've lived in Parsippany with my husband Joe for the past 28 years. Just give you a little information about my education. I have a business degree, an undergraduate degree in business. I have an MBA in finance. In my professional career, I work primarily for Fortune 500 companies. ADP, I was Director of Finance. Ingersoll Rand, I was Director of Budget and Planning. I left corporate and managed the budget and planning operation at Montclair State University and taught finance at Seton Hall University. And I'd briefly like to discuss some of the issues in our campaign. And one of the issues that came up and I addressed with the council was the influence of money in our government and in our election. And it's been reported that there's been like $200,000 contributed by businesses to elect town council candidates. And I addressed with the council my concerns about how the public can be confident that businesses are chosen for the right reasons, that they're chosen on their merit and their cost effectiveness and not by their influence. The residents overwhelmingly supported the pay-to-play ordinance. And this donation through super PACs to candidates is in direct conflict with that ordinance. And so my recommendation was that any elected official that benefited from these donations should recuse themselves from any future dealings with these businesses. Another issue was to control spending. And one of the areas, and it's been reported, that the town has spent $1 million in litigation and legal fees. And a lot of this money was dedicated to one lawsuit. And I think as the town continued to pursue this, and they continued to lose. And it's just a business principle that you cut your losses and you move forward, and you use your money where it's more productive and more beneficial. I looked at the budget, and over the past 2 years, the legal services have increased about $500,000. Another issue that we're interested in our campaign, of course, is development, responsible development.
30 seconds.
I'm sorry?
30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds, wow. And responsible development. And, you know, you talked about Waterview, and there's been a lot of iterations of that, and I think so far I haven't agreed with any of them. And finally, it's effective government. And I think that if you read the news and you've been to any of our town council meetings, there's a little bit of controversy there. There's a lot of bickering and arguments and disputes. And I think that doesn't serve the public as well as it should. So we're looking to address that as well. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Elbin. I'm very happy to be a candidate for town council. It's quite an honor to be asked. I've lived with my family for 20 years in Parsippany. We're down on Farmstead Drive, not far from Parsippany High School. My wife Susan's in the audience. She's run twice before for town council, so we're obviously a family that's active and concerned about the community we live in. We have a daughter, Rachel, who's getting her PhD in cultural anthropology. She's spending a year in Africa right now, so we'll be happy to see her again on March 31st, hopefully, if all goes well. My educational background, I have a BA from Dickinson College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, in German and religion. My wife and I went back to State College, Pennsylvania, Penn State. That's my home area, and I got my master's in German in 1979 there at PSU. Professionally, I've spent 30 years as a high school German teacher. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed classroom management. I just totally enjoyed it, and then decided to retire in 2014. As I was doing that, I got more and more involved in the Teachers Association. And of course, we all know whatever side of the issue we're on, that it's political, and one has to get in there and learn how to negotiate and get things to move. I think one of my frustrations, and frustrations I hear from other people in the town and community and neighbors, is that things are gridlocked on the council, more or less. There's almost signs of disrespect to each other during the meetings. There's this antagonism and contentious atmosphere. And I ask myself, you know, I could probably serve the town in this respect. If I get on, I can get in there and get people to discuss further, compromise, break down, find out what it's going to take, you know, so nobody has the whole enchilada one way or the other. But with development, as Janice said, we do sensible development. We don't build 666 things or, you know, big box stuff. We get We get development in there where it's supposed to be done in a sane manner, and we investigate the neighborhoods, as Mr. Karifi said. Obviously, Intervale people are still interested that the water view isn't overblown. Also, I'm interested in environmental issues in the town. I'm interested in the Forge Pond, why it was let go, why it was not picked up by the town. And my esteemed councilman, Mr. DiPiero there, even mused at the last town council meeting that, you know, perhaps we should have looked at that longer and maybe seen what that was about. So once again, I think my main concern, my main mission is to work with the other council members to the questions, to the problems we've discussed here, and get talking going, get discussion going, getting something moving in a sane, rational manner. Thank you.
Going to stand also? I think that was
Yeah, why
an
not?
excellent
Yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Yes.
let the people see.
Loretta Grignani. I want to thank Phil for accomplishing Mission Impossible. That was his emails to us, was Mission Impossible. So I thank you, Phil. I am new to elected office, but I am not new to my commitment to this township. My husband Adam and I have lived in Parsippany for 47 years. We are married for 52 years. We have 2 boys, Andrew and Peter. My involvement in our community during Hurricane Irene was a very moving point for me. It wasn't something that I did because you want to get accolades or you want to receive awards. I saw our residents in need, and I helped. With other volunteers, we coordinated efforts to assist the residents of Lake Hiawatha. For our accomplishments, we received from Governor Christie the New Jersey State Volunteer Award. Mayor Barbario awarded me Parsippany-Troy Hills Outstanding Award for volunteerism. You don't volunteer, you don't help your neighbors because you want these awards or you're looking for these awards. You do it because you see a need and you want to help. My involvement in this township has been for many years. I am a member of the Board of Adjustment since 2006 to the present time, where we are 9 individuals, different personalities, and we come to decisions that are going to benefit our township and our residents. I was an aide to Assemblywoman Betty Lou DeCroche. I am presently a trustee, a finance council minister, and a board of advisor member for my church, St. Anne.
30 seconds.
Where, oh, that does go fast.
Oh, yeah.
Where we make decisions on our finance council that affect not only our parishioners, but our church, making our church viable, so that in the future, we have a community that is going to be helping one another. I am a member, and I'm very proud to say, a community development member of Stickley Museum at Craftsman's Farm. We here in Parsippany are extremely, extremely fortunate to have this National Historic Site here in Parsippany. Thank you for being here. Thank you again for having us all here. Thank you.
Not only did they all agree to the state on the first round, but they all made it in 3 minutes. I just decided I'm voting for all 6 of them.
Let's increase the time. Expand the
Well,
council.
thank you. Very, very good job. A lot of credentials and a lot of talent. So I'm going to ask the first question. Actually, what are the top 2 issues facing you in Parsippany in 2016? And I'm going to start with Loretta?
Okay. I think the issue that most of our residents are concerned with is keeping our budget at the 2% cap that the administration and the appointed administrators have kept. Also, personally for me, it's our volunteers, making sure that we support them and support them in a way that they will always be there for us. You see them in town all the time, whether it be the police, our rescue and recovery, they are there. Also our seniors. I want to continue the work that the township does, the administration does at the senior center. I want to assist them and make sure that all of the services are still given to them. Water view, that's a concern. We are going to be having at the Board of Adjustment in the beginning of December a meeting for this application. And it will be held at the Board of Adjustment complex in Parsippany, Town Hall. And I invite all of you to come and hear what possibly will be placed on that land. Thank you.
Probably two very large issues for me in the coming year would be the perceived gridlock in the council, the contentious atmosphere, this not being able to get things done or accomplish what we should be accomplishing. And secondly, associated with that is, of course, the extra legal fees that are taxpayers' money. I mean, it's good that we try to keep under the cap, obviously. We don't want to raise people's taxes too much, but these added legal fees that we're seeing that have risen over 45% in the last 5 or 6 years are costing us as individuals. And then the other point on that would be the good management of the open space. Maintaining the open space, having a resiliency there. I mean, if we get more storms and things, we need open spaces that are going to help preserve the surrounding neighborhoods. And not having the houses built right up on the edge of the Rockaway River. I mean, buying up that stuff was good. I think giving a buffer zone and keeping as much of the open space that we can, as Nick mentioned, having a nice mixture. Thank you.
We seem to be standing, so I'll stand.
Yeah, why not?
I think the important issue, one of the important issues, is to build consensus, to be able to bring balance, to bring communication to the council, so there isn't so much gridlock. That it's not always a council that is always in agreement with the administration or a council that's always in opposition. There has to be a balance, there has to be consensus, and there has to be communication, and I think that's important. I think that's important because effective government is important in working together and making the best decisions to serve the public's interest. And I do think a big issue with a lot of the people in town is development. How we develop, where we develop, the affordable housing issue, and what transpires, and what the policies are going to be going forward. I think that we need to always consider and maintain the character of Parsippany, and I think that means always talking about the natural resources and the historical sites in Parsippany that are so much a part of its character whenever we talk about development. So for me, those are the two issues. Thank you.
Similarly, for me, the open spaces are huge. We have to preserve what we have. Coming up, we're going to have that meeting to see if they're going to put 120 units right up against Intervale. And I don't see why that's necessary, because we have other places that we can put it. If COA wants to build houses and we're bound, and we don't even know how many we need right now, if we're bound to put them there, we're not bound to tear down any trees to do so. We can redevelop other spaces. Like I said, we can take office buildings and make them those condominiums, and God knows there's plenty of space for lease. Also, you know, I'd want to revitalize. I've had conversations with people who remember all kinds of like bowling alleys and and the horse tracks and all kinds of things that we used to have in Parsippany. And I want to make it better for the people who currently live here, instead of this urban sprawl that's going to continually, eat up all these spaces. Because in essence, it's the people who are here that have made Parsippany, and they should be the ones that it's focused on. And I've talked to people where, it's becoming unaffordable. We have seniors who can no longer afford the taxes. And some people are paying more in taxes than people in low-income housing who will be paying for the low-income housing. And I don't think that, someone who's lived here for 30, 40 years has to do that. And they're moving to Florida, North Carolina, and everything else. So for me, is enriching the quality of life, preserving the open spaces, and keeping it affordable for the citizens that live here.
Thank you. I think the two most important issues that we're going to be facing next year is, one is taxes. We need to continue to come up with ways of generating revenue for the town, looking into more shared services agreements with some of the surrounding towns that we have. We have a couple things right now that we're starting within the town that are going to be generating revenue for us, so that will help us with our taxes. And also our quality of life issues, which goes into open space and development. I think we need to control the development. I remember growing up here as a kid, half of the stuff we have here wasn't even here now. And we're running out of open space that we have in our town. What little space we have left, we don't want to lose that, okay? We're talking about the COA and affordable housing requirements that the government may be trying to force us to have to do as a requirement. We're going to do everything we can possibly to try to keep that at a minimum, and to keep it where it's not affecting the quality of life of our existing neighborhoods, such as Waterview and some of these other areas. There are areas that we can look into refurbishing different things, or existing complexes and buildings and stuff that are no longer being used and are outdated. There's no reason to tear down what little trees and open space we have left in this town. So I think those are two of the major issues facing us in the next year.
Okay, the new Supreme Court mandates for moderate low-income housing is number one. That's staring us in the face. Office vacancy rates must be reduced to improve our tax base. That's number two. But people that are referring to moderate low-income housing, I've been involved with Mount Laurel and COA for 25 years. No one knows more about what the courts do for low-income housing than I do. When we fought that 25 years ago, by the way, the courts break you up into the state into regions. Our region includes Patterson and Newark. Now, the needs for moderate low-income housing in Patterson and Newark is great, but when we're lumped in with them, and now we're allocated a number, and that number could be anywhere from 400 units to over 1,000 units. We don't know where it's going to be. We won't know until the last minute, sometime in January, what our actual number is. But that will be our obligation. That's what the courts will tell us. When we fought this 25 years ago, we went to court and we told the courts, listen, Parsippany has done more for moderate and low-income housing than any other town in New Jersey. We have 7,000 apartments. We have 2 senior citizen complexes. We have high-density housing in Mount Tabor, in Rainbow Lakes, Lake Hiawatha, Lake Parsippany, and we even had a trailer park at that time. We've done more for low-income housing than anybody. And the courts told us, we don't care what you did in the past, it's the obligation moving forward that we're interested in. And what you did in the past doesn't count. And during those arguments, our numbers came down. Our original number was, in Parsippany, 4,000 moderate low-income units were mandated by the courts. We fought that for 15 years. The numbers came down because it was an unrealistic number. And then they came out with a regional contribution agreement. Anybody want to hear the rest of this? Yeah. Regional contribution agreement, which, by the way, is not allowed during this round, is that we ended up with 1,125 moderate low-income housing unit obligation in Parsippany, down from the original 4,000. Because their number was calculated using vacant spaces between two houses. I mean, how realistic is that? But they added that, all those up as a total acreage, and that's how they came up with their grandiose numbers. Regional contribution meant we could give either Newark or Patterson, they were part of our region, half of our obligation. And we have to build the rest ourselves, and we did that. We gave Newark $5 million to build modern low-income housing in Newark, and that reduced our number in half. And the rest of our modern low-income housing was built in Glenmount Commons, and some spread out through senior citizen complexes, one on Vale Road, so we met our obligation. That was round one. We're now talking round three. And so your obligation doesn't go away, it just gets bigger. And we have this obligation. The courts told us years ago that they had three judges, one in North Jersey, one in Central Jersey, one in South Jersey. And they told us our job is not to render fair and impartial hearings. Our job is to enforce Mount Laurel. No fair and impartial hearings. And that's gone on today. And in this round, it's going to be the same way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I asked that question for a reason. It's food for thought for all of you to think about questions that you wanted to ask the candidates. So they all did a very good job. You see there's a lot of issues that they see. There may be some that they missed that you want to talk about. But I have a very important question that may decide whether or not you're elected. How many of you, raise your hands if you agree, are rooting for the Mets to win the World Series?
The Pirates are out, so I gotta go with the Mets.
I guess that won't decide the election.
Anybody got a score?
Anyway,
Don't tape it, don't tell me, don't tell me.
okay. Okay, now I'm going to open it up to the audience. Again, hopefully that was food for thought. And you're it. One last thing. Time's up. The future council for Parsippany is here tonight. Robert Peluso and Lou Valari are free this year and next year, right? So the two will be there for 2 years, and 3 of these 6 will be there. So you're going to decide, and you're going to go home and tell all your friends and everything else. So hopefully this will open up into a lot of discussion in town. 53,000 people, you have a lot of work to do when you leave here. So, okay, thanks. Open for questions.
People who attend council meetings sometimes get concerned because it seems like the council's voice is lost in the meetings. And it's really important for people who live here to feel like we are being represented by the council. I'd like to hear each person speak about how they would take steps to make sure that the voice of the council is heard at council meetings and not the voice of any other people.
You want to direct that to them all?
I would like to hear all those.
Can you rephrase that? I'm trying to,
Minute,
that's what you're actually asking.
What was your name? Julia Pierce.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, let's go.
You
Let's see.
started with me before.
Well, let's
Like to start with me
go
again?
4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. How's that?
What?
We're gonna split it.
4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6.
Oh, I'm fourth, okay.
You're up. Just try to mix it up and make it sense.
You are.
Oh, I'm first? I'm sorry, Julie, can you just say that again?
Ensuring that at council meetings, the council's voice is heard in matters.
Well,
Huh? Rather than say, the town attorney.
well, you know, I think it's important, I do agree that I think it's important for the town council to interact more with the public when they come to meetings. And I think, I've been to council meetings, and I think it's hard because a lot of the questions are deferred to the town attorney. So I just think there has to be more input from the council. I've gone to council meetings where I think they have. You know, I think they've made good points, and they've each made themselves heard. And I just think maybe they need to do more of that, and they need to step up a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll speak briefly to that. I watched the last town council meeting on YouTube, and when we got to the Forge Pond area and there was discussion, it went over to Mr. Inglesino. I didn't hear much from the other members, and his basic statement was, well, the point's moot, meaning it's already done, we're not taking the 130 acres, we're just letting them go. So they revert, and who knows what will happen to them down the road. That was a little abrupt for me.
Before, I believe one of the council members to be mentioned respect. I hope to be a voice of reason on this council. In regard to the Forge Pond, I believe Mr. Inglesino did not have all of his material at hand at that particular meeting, and I believe at the next council meeting, our mayor will voice what is going on with Forge Pond, and we have not lost those acreage. There's a lot of different personalities on this council at the present time, Julia, and I know you've been at several of the meetings. They have opinions. They are strong in their opinions. Do we agree with them all? No. But we listen, and as I said, if I am fortunate enough to be elected your next councilwoman, I will try my very best to be a bridge and to be a voice of reason. Thank you.
My turn? Okay. Well, kind of a vague question, but depending on who the questions are addressed to, sometimes, keep in mind that we are a Faulkner Plan A type of government. We're a full-time mayor and a part-time council. The mayor is the administrative branch of government. We are the legislative branch. So some of the questions that come to us could not and should not be addressed by the council as a legislative branch. They should be addressed by the mayor or his administration in those kinds of questions. If there are any matters concerning litigation or negotiations, then the township attorney will step in to make sure we don't violate any negotiations that are going on or any litigation that's going on. And that's his job. When they speak about Forge Pond, for instance, okay, we haven't discussed that in quite a while. We shelved it. We didn't just kill it. We shelved it several years ago because there are contaminants in the Forge Pond and near the dam. And so the township is reluctant to take over that portion of the property when the mitigation of those contaminants could cost us millions of dollars. We have to be careful when we do that. The township did that years ago when we built the sewer treatment plant. We took over a small piece of Sharky's dump, and we ended up in a lawsuit because we had a little piece of that property. We were part of the lawsuit because there were contaminants in that landfill that were dumped there over 20, 30, 40 years when that was the landfill. We were sucked up into that. We protected ourselves since then. We won't buy anything or take charge of anything unless we're sure there's no risk on the part of the township. In this case, we did not give up the 130 acres. It is ours, okay? We haven't taken possession of it yet because there are no metes and bounds yet for what is the dam, what is the pond, and what is the other 130 acres. Once those metes and bounds are concerned, we can take over the highlands portion and continue to negotiate with what's going to happen with the pond itself and the dam.
Julie, I can tell you that myself and some of the other council members, we do voice our opinions and our ideas, and we do listen to the people, and we speak for what you want us to say and do. As far as with the town attorney, I will say that there are some legal issues that we are advised that we cannot discuss or we cannot answer questions. But that being said, I've been to other town council meetings and their attorneys don't talk a tenth of the time that ours does. So, you know, maybe that's why he makes over $1 million a year. But that being said, I would agree with you. I mean, there's things that we've brought up and, you know, sometimes we're just not listened to. But I can assure you that if I am reelected, I will continue to fight for what is right. And I will never rubber stamp anything. I will always do my due diligence and do my research on every issue.
I agree with a lot of what he said. The mayor, I'm sorry, sorry, I get so many thoughts going on with Forge Pond and everything else going on. So, but basically, the council does speak their mind, and sometimes they do a good job of it, and sometimes it comes to head. I also do agree that the lawyer sometimes speaks first, and that's probably that he should be held in reserve so that, you know, the council speaks, and if there is something that needs to be deferred to him, then it should be deferred to him. However, I think that, you know, we were the elected body. We should be the ones that have the say, because we're the ones that are supposed to be representing the citizens. We're the ones that were elected. And of course, you know, in situations where litigation matters, and of course you have to defer to the lawyer. And since everybody else brought up Forge Pond, just want a couple of notes on that. Back in June, I was at the meeting, and I actually brought up the point, you know, we made this deal to take this acreage. Have we gotten it? It's been 2 years. So yeah, it was put on the shelf, but then it was kind of left on the shelf. And I did bring this up back in June, and I think former Councilman Nelson had brought it up at the previous meeting. Now, my concern with that is, you know, we're saying, oh, there's contaminants, there could be contaminants, but then on the second side, we're saying that it wasn't tested, and we can't take it because we're afraid of what might be there. So do we know it's there, we do not know it's there? And why, in all good sense, didn't we make the deal contingent on the area being clean? So we've already made the deal that we're going to make this deal, but we didn't test it first. And, you know, that's kind of part of due diligence. Some of the, you know, quality assurance pharmaceutical industry, you always do due diligence. You should have known whether it was contaminated before you entered into the agreement. So thank you.
Whole Foods may take over the Pathmark site. I don't know if everybody read that, but that may change a few things. All right, anybody else have a question or want to follow up on this stuff?
Somewhat on that. Who does the town attorney actually represent? Does he represent both the council and the mayor, or the administration, or is there a difference there?
He's representing the township.
Together, right? Okay.
Yes. My concern is, and it's more of a question in regards to Greystone, and now they're probably winding down the demolishing of the properties there, and everyone's talking open space, and there's an open space, if you could imagine. My question to the council, or the council to be, is the township of Parsippany having a lot more input? Because it is developed so for recreation purposes. Now, I guess the next phase is going there, and where the council would stand on the development of it and what they envision is going to be in that area.
Are you directing that to anyone?
Yes,
Anyone
the council, all of them.
Oh,
I mean,
I believe that's county property now. That we have no input on that.
excuse me?
I believe that's county property now.
It's county property, but
Yeah, we
still,
But it's-
no, we will have input when the time
Okay.
comes.
yeah.
I mean, do we have a determinate time, or is there a master plan in regards to the property? I mean, does the public have a say in this?
I'm not aware of any master plan yet for that, but like the mayor said, I know that Parsippany's, being that it is in Parsippany,
Right.
we will have a strong input into what happens there.
Right. But I mean, do we have a timetable to where
It's,
things will be
it's
progressing?
yes,
I can answer, but I'm not assume.
I do not know, I am not aware of any timetable right now.
That's some objective.
I can answer.
I
Sure,
can-
I don't want to.
Personally, I wanted to keep raised doing. I mean, I've traveled the
That's
world.
too late, too late.
I know, but I'm
Sorry
just
to break
saying,
your,
but those kind of things that need to be preserved. My understanding is now it's scheduled to be fields, but that may have changed as well. But when you have something, an edifice like that, and something that's unique to Parsippany, as unique as its name, you need to preserve that, whether it be the Stickney Museum or the houses that, you know, the historical sites. These are the things that make Parsippany unique, so you have to preserve them as best you can. Fields are built everywhere, and we can't do that. I mean, in my vision, I would like to make Parsippany a destination. Just, I was talking to Joe DiVincenzo when he was doing some work on, you know, obviously if you go to West Orange now and what they've done to Turtleback, and they have the zip lines, and they have all these things that bring people to the town, and then obviously increases the life, you know, the enjoyment for the people in town. So, I mean, I would have liked to see it. I know that it's gone, but that would have been great for a museum or some kind of, you know, something that would draw people. I mean, I would love to see another.
now with the handicapped fields they have there. It's in a positive direction, there's no question about it.
Right, I would
So
like to see
think
something that's.
The alternative of what's happening there is positive, so, I mean, water under the bridge as we could speak right now, but
Right. But I
going
would like to
forward,
see-
I would like to see where it's going. I live in the Skyview Heights community, so
Right.
it's right in my backyard per se.
No, I could talk to you off.
Okay, sure.
I'll tell you what's transpired and what we.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I
I'll,
thought the council would have an input in regards to that.
The state owns it still until they finish renovating it. Then it gets turned over to the Morris County freeholders. They will have control over it. And then when they start to develop what they're going to do there, it will remain open space. They can't sell it for housing or development.
That's good to know.
I believe that was your main concern.
Well, but I mean, it's going in the right direction, no matter what.
When the freeholders take it over, then the process will be that they'll start to plan for what they're going to put there, whether it be active or passive recreation, and then we will have a lot of input during that process.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Caitlin, you have a question?
Personally.
We have one question.
We have, sorry. Oh, but just one thing before you.
Go ahead.
Personally, I'm very upset over Greystone coming down.
Me
I
too.
really wanted to rent a room there.
Second motion.
Too late, too late, I'll have to find another place to go. Sorry.
As a teacher and a mother of very young children right now, part of the reason that my husband and I moved to Parsippany was because of the school rating. And I just, no one really spoke to their support or perhaps feelings about what they're going to do to support the educational system here in town. So I'm just wondering a little bit more about that, you know, making sure that the Parsippany schools are staying on the cutting edge of technology compared to the other Morris County school districts around us, and making sure that the teachers are supported and the new superintendent that will come in, hopefully, you know, everything will, kind of the town itself will be working to support, you know, the growing families and the kids that are growing up here, and, you know, getting people like us to continue to move here because of that. So.
But that's really a function of the school board.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
and the council has
I think as someone who cares very much about that, though, any of my voting is always going to be based a lot on people who I see to be kind of supporting the schools in different ways, so that's why I'm wondering what.
Yeah, as a teacher of many years, obviously, and as a teacher association member, I've advocated year-long for the best educational system we can get. It's true, it is nominally a school board council meeting, which we all attend, and I encourage you to attend. We're at an impasse right now between administration and the teachers. I mean, you've seen the signs all over support our teachers. So we've had the Rixford, I'll call it the Rixford debacle in terms of not getting the schedule started right and everything, and that was very unfortunate, but I know I'm closely associated with a couple of school board members, and I know they're working right now at the very best they can to get this sorted out and get the interim superintendent in. I think as far as the other things, it's a very good school system. I mean, I taught in Morris Hills Region, my daughter went to Parsippany, so we're very proud of the school system.
You know, you have an election, we have an election of school board members. Get to know your school board members, and on November,
Yes.
go out and vote.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
it's
vote
very
for the-
important.
You can attend,
Yes.
they have nights like this for the
Yeah.
prospective
Get
board
to know
members
them.
too.
Yeah.
So, and you can get to see them.
I served on the school board for 6 years. I share your concerns. I had them when I was a school board member. I continue to have those same concerns today. How involved we can get with the school board is a matter of discussion, because they are an autonomous body. They're elected by the same voters that are like us, and they make their own decisions. But we have tried to work cooperatively with them, and we do have some shared service agreements with them to save the taxpayers money. One of the ones I was personally involved with when I was on the school board was 28 acres, what's now known as Volunteers Park. And we had a 10-day teacher strike when I was on the school board. And some of the school board members wanted to sell that property to settle the strike. And I warned them that that's the last tract of land that the school board owns. If they sell that now, they will have made an irreversible decision. The school board will never, ever have any land to develop anything on. If they ever need another school, they will not have it. It'll be gone forever. So I scared some of them into reconsidering. They said, well, what are we going to do with it? And I said, why don't we lease it to the town for $1 a year? Let them build a park. Lake Hiawatha is a very densely populated area of our town. So they said, well, okay, you take care of it. So Jack Fay was the mayor then. He wasn't very interested in moving forward with that, so I just let it sit. A year later, I was running for council, and Frank Ferrari was running for mayor. We campaigned from January to June. I had lots and lots of time to talk to him. I explained to him what I wanted to do. And he said, that's a good idea. He says, first, we'll solve the flooding problem in Lower Lake Hiawatha, and then we'll build a park. That park has been our pride and joy for all these years. In fact, that park was so successful that Ferrari got park fever, and he built 14 more parks all over town. And it was a good concept. The concept was he wanted a park in every neighborhood so that children didn't have to rely on mommy and daddy to drive them every place to a central park, that there would be one nearby that they could walk to or ride their bicycle to, and have swings and slides and those kinds of things. And we have those parks all over town, and that's part of our quality of life.
You know, I think that not as much attention is paid to school board elections that are paid to these town council elections. And it's really unfortunate because, I mean, they are responsible for a large part, the majority of actually.
In essence, that was my point.
And I think we need to give more attention to that and have more forums like this for that.
Yeah,
I
I
totally
think
agree
it's
with you.
a community effort to
Yes.
support the schools, so that's what I was kind of
There's
trying
too
to
much
get at.
polarization right now.
Right.
They need to come together and get these issues.
I can tell you, you know, coming through the school system here, from elementary school all the way up, it's very important to me. You know, I did feel that I got a very good education here, and I'd like to see that continued. Unfortunately, like it's been said, we really don't have any control over what goes on in the schools there, but I can tell you that when I talk to residents, and if they're not aware of that, and they think the council has an input in that, I do listen to them, and then I do forward their issues and concerns to school board members that I know, so.
By the way, just a quickie, shared services is now a buzzword, but Volunteers Park was the first shared service. The school board leases that to the township for $1 a year, and we built the park.
Thank you.
So obviously, I had mentioned I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. My son's in 1st grade, so he's at East Lake Elementary. He's going to be going to school for a long time. So these are very important issues to me. One of the things that I noticed when we had the primaries for council, there were 7 individuals running on the Republican ticket and 4 on the Democratic ticket. 11 people ran. Unfortunately for the school board, only 3 people ran. Well, 1, but he didn't get enough signatures. So really, you have 3 open spots and only 3 people running. Now you have to scramble to get some write-in voting. So I think more people have to understand the power. And I think now with the last superintendent, they understand how much is affected by the school board. So I would encourage that you find people who are interested, and so the next time there's an opening, get people to run so that there are more options, so that you can be like-minded and things like the teachers' contracts can be resolved. You can select the superintendent that are best suited for our schools. So I'd encourage you to get involved, and everyone else to get more involved in that election process.
Thank you. All right, let's have one more question and we'll take a quick break.
I don't really have a question, it's more of a concern. I moved here last year, and my husband and I have moved all over the country, and we've always voted. And when I went to vote last year, you know, I had gotten my ballot in the mail, it told me where to go, and I drove down there, pulled in the parking lot, there was not one sign, nothing, absolutely nothing. I was wondering if I was in the right parking lot. It was about 11:30 in the morning. I went around to each door of each building trying to open them, a lot of them were locked. So I kind of thought I was in the wrong place, and I looked at my ballot again, I looked at the address, okay, I'm in the right place. I mean, there was nothing, and I walked in, finally found people in the back building. I mean, who would know to go behind this big building to find where you vote? Walked in, talked to those people, I said, isn't there a sign that you can put out front, or at least on this door here, so that I would know to come in?
Which
Well,
building?
we just don't do
District
that.
1.
District 1.
And I thought, well, about probably 8 more people have moved into this neighborhood since I moved here last year. How are they gonna know where to go vote? So I sent my husband down after I voted to see if he could find it. He came home and didn't vote. He couldn't find it. I mean, that's pathetic.
That is
That issue was addressed with the county, because they allow us to use that facility up there. So at the police academy, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, then they
Not
have
a
the
sign.
safety, obviously, petitions up, which in the past you're able to drive way in the back there and vote. Yeah, and
But
it's
if
very,
you got back there, there's still no sign.
and it's very confusing. You're absolutely right.
I mean,
And
it's just a sign
we
telling
made
you
mention.
pull in there. I think that's just horrible that everybody's, you know, come vote, move out to vote, and you don't know where to go.
I know that in the past, because I worked there, in the past, now that they have the new communication center and OEM opened up, there's a lot of high security measures that they have at that building, believe it or
Yeah.
not. And they moved where the polling used to take place. They did put up some signs, but I agree with you,
Not
because there
November,
were
they
people
didn't.
last year coming in that were saying, you know, where are we going? And
Yeah.
they didn't, the signage was not adequate, and it was not put in the proper places
There was none.
at the time. But I think that situation is going to be
I
rectified.
hope so, because I mean, a lot of people probably didn't vote because they couldn't find it. And that's really pretty sad.
It is.
All right, one more. Mike?
Yeah, relating back to the schools, I know there's a chance you're gonna want to defer on the school board again on this, but I don't really understand how, you know, the board can be completely autonomous when, you know, when planning, you know, for the community and development is so closely related. As it relates to, you know, new housing and the already overcrowded schools, and you know, there's sort of apparent perception that there's been very little investment in the actual, you know, elementary schools in the community, and the fact that, you know, the majority of the town has an elementary school within a mile or two. Our community south of Route 10, we have to drive as much as 7 miles to get to the nearest school. We actually drive past 3 or 4 other elementary schools in other towns on the way to the closest school in our town. So I think a lot of us on the south side of Route 10, you know, the southwest corner, feel like, you know, really alienated from, you know, those quality of life services. But, you know, for me, I have a 6 and an 8-year-old too, so I'm not sure how you would feel if your kids had to drive in a bus for 45 minutes and 7 miles to get to the nearest elementary school. I'd like to hear all of you speak to that, and how, with the continued development, you will work with the school board to appropriately plan for the right type of, you know, the right resources for the schools that are needed, you know, for these kids as the community continues to grow.
Well, I can tell you this, we've been informed by the town attorney that this affordable housing requirements that we have, that you cannot use that as a defense to lower your number. So even if our schools are completely maxed out with
Which
students.
means that we need more schools or?
Right, which would mean even if our schools are completely maxed out right now, and they tell us you need X, you're required to have X amount of units, the town's gonna have to find something. We cannot use that as a reason to
And so
say
are
we
we
don't
gonna
want
have
it.
more schools that are 10, 12 miles away from our communities?
Well, no, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. This part of town is the furthest away from any school. I mean, I live in Sedgefield. I know Littleton is right there. But I agree with you. There's everywhere in town, except for at this end of it, there's a school within a mile of everybody. It's just, I mean, that's how it's been since way back. I know a lot of people up here go to Mount Tabor. Or, I know, when I was in first or second grade, everybody from here went to Mount Tabor School. So,
I mean,
Isn't that true?
it's part of strategic development. I mean, if we're going to build these houses, we have to consider that we're going to need more schools.
Mount Tabor.
And it's not only schools, it's going to be, we're going to need places where the ambulance are going to be. Because, how are we going to get to these people in a timely manner, the fire departments, and we have to do this. We have to plan strategically. We have to have a master plan, say this is what we're going to develop over time, and we have to stick to that so that we're not found with, like you said, you're driving so many miles, or we have too much crowding in one space because we just added 3 developments on that side of town. So it has to do with, we have to have strategic planning when we do grow, we do have this problem.
Well, I think that's what you have to consider with development, the burden on emergency services and the schools. I mean, and that's all has to be taken into consideration, but I think that has to be cooperation between the schools and the council. I mean, I think for it to.
You have strategic planning, you have to have the options on the land, you have to get somebody to come in and decide where to build. Hopefully in your case, it's going to be somewhere drivable within the kids' distance. You're going to need state and federal assistance. Yeah, it's a big plan, but probably at the rate we're developing, yeah, we need to have that in the plan.
Also, it's going to be a tax on our police department. We are definitely, if any of these options go through with the low to medium income homes, we are going to need many more police officers. And that's where I think our fiscally responsibility will come in handy, budget-wise, and we need to also plan, and I have to agree with the other candidates that it is very important.
Okay. Good job, a lot of good topics.